Okay, let's make a new project and let's make it a C# forms application. And let's change the default name to, I don't know, Chapter 11. Take a note of where the location is that you're saving. And we'll make a new project. So here we have our form, and let's click on the form, make sure that we've got it selected here, and we can look over on our properties. Now if you don't see your menus, well, it doesn't have to be like this, but if you don't see your menus in a way that you like, what you can do is you can always go and reset Windows layout, and it'll return to looking this way. And I'm using Visual Studio 2008, but it's not too different in 2010 or 2005. Okay, so we got Windows Form. The first thing we want to do is and let's change the name of the form. So if I go up here, and by the way, you can look at these alphabetically, or you can look at them in categories. It's whatever is up to you. Alphabetically is usually a little easier to find. Okay, so the name usually starts off with FRM. Now, the textbook may have a different name or a different way to do this, but FRM usually designates a form. So let's call this FRM Chapter 11. Now, it doesn't look like it's going to do anything, but let's change this. Now, is this the name? No, it's not. This is the text which is on this control. The name of this control is FRM Chapter 11, but the text is different. So let's change the text. And let's change it to whatever we want to. Now, we can go to get a label. Oops, I don't want my server controls. Let me pin this down for now. And I can get a label and drag it on here. Now, once this is selected, I have all the properties over here on the right-hand side. So I can change these to be whatever I want. And the text is going to be, welcome to okay. Now, I can really place this wherever I want. If I wanted to, I could place it in a specific location. And guess where that's located at? It's under location. The X coordinate and the Y coordinate. So I'm going to move it to 60, 30. Okay. Now, I can change the font on these. I can change it really to whatever I want. So let me go up here to font. I know you've already done this. This was probably last week you did this. But I'm just kind of catching up on what's going on. Font, 18 point, and about oblique. That look okay? Alright. I don't like where that's placed. How about if I move it over a little? And that looks better to me. Okay. Now, I'm going to go to the second label, drag that on, and I can put this somewhere else. Let me go check the location. And the location is really wherever I want it to be. But okay. Now again, I can change the font on this, and I can change a lot of other stuff. I love the text. Well, let me change the name. You should always make the name something descriptive. LBL, and what is this going to be? How about rates? Now again, it didn't change what it says on the label here. In fact, let me change the font on that. Click this little ellipse, and hey, how about that? Let's change it to size 18, and we'll bold it up a little. That's size 24. Okay. Now we need to change the text to, certainly don't want it to be label 2. Let's change it to check our rates. And again, I don't like it there, so okay. Well, no points for style with me, but you can see the point of how you can change these. So you should always change the name, because that's descriptive, and it is really going to help when you start programming these things. And you can change the font and the style and the location and all of these other properties. And properties are something which describes this control. Color describes this control, right? So you could change the background color or back color. So a property describes what each control, so whatever control I bring on here, the property will describe what it looks like. Now there's another part, which are the methods, which describes what it does. And we'll look at that when we get into programming. But let's see, we've done this graphically on our GUI, graphical user interface, but it's generated code for us, so it's writing a lot of the code for us. Let's go switch over to the code view and see what it's doing here. So here's Form CS, and it's got a lot of the code that's in there already. Okay. And you can see some of the code that's there. Okay. So it's generating the code for us. Okay. So a lot of the code is already here, and it's being generated as we go along. And private windows, forms, label 1, and label rates. Okay, let me go back here. So we'll check on this one. You notice that the name of this one was label 1. I didn't change it. I should have, but I didn't change the name of this one. And guess what this one was? It is label rates. Okay, so you can see the code is being generated as we go along here. So let me go back to my design, and I want to add some checkboxes. And I've got my toolbox out, and I'm going to collapse some of these. You can see that we've got a lot of choices over here. Let me collapse these down. So we've got a lot of stuff that we can choose from. Okay, I'm going to go with common controls for now. We can do fancy stuff later, and we want a checkbox. Now, normally I place a checkbox inside of another control, but we're going to let it ride on on this particular, inside of this particular form. Nah. And maybe we'll see what that entails later. But let me show you what we're going to be doing here. So we got a checkbox, and again, in this one, checkbox, and this first checkbox is going to be, now let me go over here to the properties. How about if we call it Bel Air? That's as good. And there's no spaces, there's no special characters in here. I could put an underscore in the beginning, but normally you don't want any special characters or spaces in here. And that's the name. Now, the text, that's another story. Now, the text, now again, I can change the font on this. Let me bump it up a little so maybe it's a little easier to see. 16. How's that? Okay, this is not looking pretty, but that's okay. And let's put another checkbox on. And again, let's rename this CHK. And this is a naming system which works for you, whatever you want to use. Go with the textbook, or I'll show you why I like this a little bit. And what is this one? Okay, it's for a name. And okay. Oops. What do I want to change? Oh, gee, I guess I want to change the text, don't I? And change that to okay. So I want to go add a new form. So click on the project, and I want to add a new item. Oops. Oh, click the wrong one. Click on add new item. And when I do, eventually comes up and we want a new form. And if I can find it, there it is. And instead of form 2, I want to call it something different. Okay. And boom, I've got my second form. And I want to add a label to this. And let me go to my toolbox, add a label. And I'm going to add a second label. And the first one is going to say now again I should rename these, but for the in the interest of time, and let me click this drop down box, and I want to put this on 2 lines, so let me do that. Okay, and label 2 says, what do we want it to say? Label 2 says, Okay. So kind of a Lincoln bedroom thing going on here. Now let me highlight both these. And let me go up here to font. Click. And what are we going with today? Bold. Okay. 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 Good enough. And go back to form 1. Now my project, I want to check to see on my properties. Okay. Looks good. Assembly. Now my startup object, which one am I going to be doing? Chapter 11. Yeah. That's good. All right. I'm good on that. Okay. Now we want to get to the programming for this. So I'm going to double click on that. And it brings me to the checked change event. Got a bunch of events here. And the checked change event, and what I did is I just double clicked on it. That's my design. I just double clicked on this and it takes me to the checked changed event. So in other words, when it's either checked or not checked, when the user physically goes over to it with the mouse and either checks or uncheck it, then you run this event right here. This event fires. Okay, so let's actually put some coding in here. How about? Remember when I said that naming these is going to help you out a little bit? Well, this one, it's a checkbox, and I want to say if this checkbox, and which one is it? CHK is going to bring up a list of all my checkboxes, and it's that Bel Air one. And if it's checked, if that's true, and this if statement says whatever's between these parentheses is either true or false. So if that's true, if it's checked, then here's what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to create an object out of that form. Now, it was called the Bel Air form, and we want to create a new form, call it Bell form. How's that? Yeah, it's as good a name as any. Might want to make it even a little shorter than that if you want. And this is going to be a new instance of the Bel Air form. Okay. So now that we've got this form, a name for this form, what we can do is we can actually use it now. I can't use the name of this form directly. What I need to do is create an object out of that form, which is what I'm doing here. And now that it's an object, guess what? I've got a bunch of properties associated with it, properties and methods associated with this thing. So that's pretty cool. And one of the methods is let me do this, show dialog, or in other words, just pop up. Okay, now let me build this thing and see if it's going to work. Hey, lucky. All right, let me start debugging. And check this, and sure enough, it pops up. Okay. So that worked okay. Wow, that's ugly, isn't it? Okay. So if I wanted that to happen for the second checkbox, and again, I should have renamed that, but I would go make a second form, add a new form, and then I would go back to my design, and I would go to this particular one. Make that a little bit bigger too. I would go to this one and double click on this, takes me to the check changed event. So when that checkbox is actually checked, then I could also have it show the dialog for the other form. Now, of course, I'd have to have I could use a different name for that. So it'd be more descriptive, but same thing. The name of the form, so it's a class. That form that we made, this is a class, and I'm saying make an instance of this class. In other words, make a copy of this class. If I wanted to, I could make 10 of these. I could make 10 different instances of this if I wanted to. And let me show you about that. It's going to complain for a second here, but say I want to make this one number 2, bell form 2, and I could make a bell form 3, 3 if I wanted to, and I could have all of these would show up, and all of them might be different. So I could customize this any way I wanted to. So you've got one class, but you have 3 different objects that you're making from this same class. 3 different objects from the same class. Okay. Right, I don't want to go through and do all that. What else can we do? Getting to the programming area for these is, let me go back to this form, and it's form1.cs. I really should have renamed that. But say I want something to happen when this form first runs. Let me go to debug and start debugging. So it actually loads and displays. So when this program runs, it loads and displays this form. So what if I want to do something when this form loads? Well, let me get to that coding area, and let me do that by just double clicking somewhere. And guess what? It gets to the load event. So there's my load event. So I can put some programming in here if I wanted to. I could make changes. I can put any kind of programming I want to in there. I think in your book you change the label or something. Change the text on the label. And let me go do that. Let me drag a label on here. And let me rename it so I'll know where it is. LBL display. Okay. Change the text to nothing. Okay. Doesn't look like it's there, does it? All right. Let's go to our load event. And in our load event, let's have that LBL display dot text, and let's set that equal to never thought of that. Okay, let's save this and we'll debug. Debug, start debugging. And look at there. When the form loads, it changes the text of this button to hello world. Okay, whoops, sorry. Well, okay, that should do it. That's enough examples of different type of programming. Really pretty easy, isn't it? I mean, not a lot to it, right? Okay. Okay.